And you guys, I just want you to remember that this project has, it's one grade, but there's multiple pieces to it. So before you start putting wax and making your occlusion rims, make sure some faculty have approved your record bases, okay? I don't want you to do all of this work and then have to redo it, okay? So get your record bases to where you're really happy with them. I will post the critical errors. I'm going to go ahead and post those on Blackboard under the lab section of the course. That way you can see them, but mostly what you need to do is show your faculty, make sure your record base is stable, that it's not rocking, and that it's going to be adequate for adding the wax. I wish there were more time in the semester for us to grade you all at more convenient steps, but there just really isn't enough time. Alright, so while this is still nice and warm, I'm going to flame my sticky wax. Sometimes I run this one right through, just going to do it one more time. And I'm going to start placing the wax onto the rim. So the mandible usually doesn't take quite as much wax as the maxilla. One, we stop it a little short too, but also it's shorter. It only has to be 18 millimeters tall. Centered over the crest of the ridge. Okay, so I'm putting this wax directly over the center, using my lines as references. And then just kind of pinching it into the width that I want it. So I'm squeezing it to 4 to 5 in the anterior, compressing it down to 8 to 10 in the posterior, and then adapting it down the sides of the rim. And then I'm going to hold my cast in a favorable position for gravity, not to run the wax into my land area. I'm going to flame the edges. I've got a lot of excess on the lingual here. I don't need that much, so I'm going to keep my buffalo knife and I'm going to trim it off. The hardest part about working with wax in the beginning is learning when to touch it and when not to touch it as far as how the temperature of the wax is. So the cooler the wax is, the harder it is to work with. The warmer it is, the easier, but it can also be too hot. If you get it too hot, it's going to make your life really difficult. So playing with the temperature until you figure out what works well and what doesn't is going to help you all a lot. So now what I want, roughly 18 millimeters, okay? 18 millimeters for most patients is going to be taller than halfway to 2/3 up the retromolar pad. That's okay, because like I said in lecture, we would rather it be a little tall and have to adjust it back than we would have to add wax chair side. Okay, so 18 millimeters is your measurement, directly over the crest of the ridge, 4 to 5 millimeters in thickness in the anterior portion, 8 to 10 in the posterior. You can put a 45 degree in this angle if you want to. I usually do, not required, but I usually do it just to make sure that there's room. then I would measure it. Because this is on the mandible and everything is going to be 18 millimeters tall, I can just do this one flat. So on the maxilla, I used my hot plate at an angle, right? So that I could have it shorter posteriorly than anterior. On the mandible, I want it all to be 18. I want it to be even. So I would measure it with my ruler, see where I need it to be, and then I would just hold this flat and get the whole plane equal. And then measure again until I reach the 18 millimeters. Okay, but it should be flat. The plane should be flat, nice and clean, and everything should be adapted well with space between the wax and the land area. No wax 1 to 2 millimeters above. All right? We're here to help you. I'm gonna have to head out very shortly to see, to relieve my mother-in-law, but I appreciate you guys. I'll get these posted ASAP so you can continue to watch them and work.